Namaste and good morning, everyone. So today we are going to see what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us about envy, jealousy. As we know, jealousy is one of those six enemies of ours. Jealousy. Often there are three terms in Sanskrit for jealousy: Irsha, Asuya, and Matsarya. These are the three terms. Irsha refers to the common, relatively mild form of jealousy. That is when people feel day by day when they perceive that someone else is surpassing them. Unfairly so. In matters such as looks, popularity, fame, wealth, happiness, and sometimes even spiritual advancement. Interestingly enough, it is Irsha which helps sustain movement in the average person's life. Jealousy makes some people get up fast and work harder. This form of jealousy plays some positive role in life because it spurs one to make self-effort and move forward. However, Irsha itself is a Rajasic sentiment, a product of a distracted and restless mind. That's why it must be sublimated on the way to real progress and prosperity. When Irsha becomes increasingly tamasic or impure, it assumes the form of a asuya. That's why there are different Sanskrit terms depending upon the degree of jealousy. And then it's called matsarya. When you see another person happier or more successful than you, and it cause your heart to burn, that means that jealousy has become more tamasic and has assumed its more perverted and grosser form as asuya. So this form of jealousy is accompanied by an urge to degrade the other person. And you don't stop talking or thinking about the defects in order to soothe your own mind. It's almost like a backbiting and scandal mongering are often associated with asuya. And matsarya, it's still more destructive and perverse. Not only you feel a burning sensation in your heart, but you start seriously planning what to do in order to hurt the person because you are so jealous of them. It almost becomes an obsession with the idea that a person's very existence has become a source of misery, a threat to your happiness. You become intensely involved in destroying, hurting, and removing the person from your way. So jealousy is normally associated with many negative traits of personality. That's why it's considered an enemy. It directs a person to be fraudulent and insincere with those around him and promotes irritability, anger, hatred, cruelty, and pride. It really degrades the mind. It is almost like a mental fever, saps out the energy and vitality of a person. If you study the history of human beings from ancient times, you will see how the tamasic form of jealousy, or even the rajasic form of jealousy, has caused great devastation. Such jealousy destroys harmony among family members also, friends, neighbors, co-workers, nations, and it could be even among the aspirants in ashram also. It is a venom. Jealousy is a great enemy of culture and against the progress of human beings. In the well-known scripture Ramayana, we see the jealousy of Kakai when the coronation turned into a banishment. The whole Ayodhya was singing with the joy that they will have a Ram as a king, but the jealousy turned into sorrowful lamentation for 14 years. Close-knit royal family was torn apart. Not only that, outcome of that was a pathetic death of a distraught king, Dashrath himself. Jealousy. While striving to overcome the negative within yourself, do not become bitter about the negativity that abounds in others. We got to be careful about that. Those negative qualities are there to urge you to become saintly, to foster and strengthen positive qualities. So that's why in Bhagavad Gita, what did Lord Krishna say? In a jnani or in a bhagat or in a yogi, there's no jealousy. There's a negativity has been rooted out. With our own willpower, with the power of the austerity, the tapa, on the spiritual path, you can remove this jealousy from your mind. It is necessary to understand the root cause of jealousy in order to eradicate though. Because it's a very complex mental process that arises in a mind that has been degraded due to wastage of willpower. Because at the surface level, you might think that external objects or persons are responsible for arousing jealousy in your heart. So it's just like a blaming the objects or blaming the people. But it is not so. You are afflicted with jealousy because you are dissatisfied with yourself. You don't know your true nature. You don't know that you are complete. When you're not living a life of enrichment, it's very easy to become jealous. There is an inner unrest in the mind. Jealousy is a psychological disease. And that's why it has to be for an aspirant, jealousy got to be removed, just like any disease we remove from our body and mind. Chronic jealousy cannot be overcome by mere words or mere theoretical understanding, because it is a persistent opponent. The predicament of a jealous mind is similar to what happens when you put a little water in boiling milk. The moment you sprinkle the water, the milk settles down. As soon as you turn your back, it is boiling over again. This is what happens in a jealous mind. You try to calm down your jealous mind. You think you have conquered. You will see there's no harm. But before you know, there is another form of jealousy bubbling up. In most cases, jealousy is based completely on illusion. What you think to be true of another person's situation is usually just not true. It could be a misunderstanding, it could be a wrong thinking. So that's why studying the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita helps us to get rid of this enemy. This enemy. Because it is really an enemy for an aspirant, for a practitioner. So today, before we start looking at those verses, I would request Karuna to recite those 4 verses from these 3 chapters. And the very first verse is from the chapter number 12, Bhakti Yoga. So the quality of a Bhagat is not to be jealous. And then, so these 2 verses, 13 and 14 from chapter number 12. Then after that, she will go into the chapter number 16, where Lord Krishna is saying it is a quality of a asura. Because that is the chapter where Lord Krishna gives us the qualities of the devatas and qualities of the asurs. So he says it's an asuric quality. So then, towards the last chapter, chapter 18, Moksha Nyas Yoga, verse number 71, over there, he gives us a clear direction that if we want to uplift ourselves or uplift others also through the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the words of Lord Krishna, make sure there's no jealousy in that person's heart. Okay, so let's start with verse number 13, chapter number 12, Bhakti Yoga.
अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखसुखक्षमी सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः तानहं द्विषतः क्रूरान् संसारेषु नराधमान् क्षिपाम्यजस्रमशुभानासुरीष्वेव योनिषु श्रद्धावाननसूयश्च शृणुयादपि यो नरः सोऽपि मुक्तः शुभान् लोकान् प्राप्नुयात् पुण्यकर्मणा.
Thank you very much, Karuna. So you saw that in the first 2 verses, they are from chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga. Lord Krishna is saying that this kind of a devotee is very dear to me. So if we have a jealousy in our personality, and on the other hand, we want to become a devotee, it's not going to work. So he says, he who hates no creature. Okay, so jealousy and hate the same thing actually. You can replace this hate word with the jealousy. Who is friendly and compassionate to all. If we call somebody our friend, true friend, we cannot be jealous. Who is free from attachment and egoism. See, egoism arises when we think that we are bigger than others. But in the same, when we see the sameness in the other person, then there's no ego. Balanced in pleasure and pain and forgiving, ever content, steady in meditation. So all these qualities, but it really starts with the jealousy. Not hating anyone. So he is prescribing us the correct mode of conduct and the way of life as a seeker, as a devotee. So he's kind of a painting a picture of a true devotee for our understanding. He's describing the beauty of a mind, the equanimity in the intellect, along with the relationships with the world. That's how we attain the spiritual perfection. He says this kind of a devotee is very dear to me. Mind is fully balanced, because when we are jealous of somebody, our mind is not balanced. When our intellect is not balanced, we just end up making the wrong decisions. And ultimately, we are responsible for the decisions which we make. Out of jealousy, maybe we can say something wrong, do something wrong, and we'll have to pay for it. So a devotee's attitude to all living creatures is friendly, ever compassionate to all. Devotee will offer the security of life to all beings, completely free from the notion of egoism. See, you can see that all these qualities, they go hand in hand. But if the starting point is wrong, we are jealous, we think we are better or less than others, we don't see the sameness, then definitely we cannot walk in this path the way Lord Krishna wants us to walk. Because he wants us to be steadfast in meditation. If the jealous thoughts are in our mind and we are meditating, obviously we'll be meditating on those jealous thoughts. He wants us to be self-controlled, firm in our resolve, live joyfully. A jealous person cannot be completely joyful. And he says the mind and intellect ever centered in me. If our mind is intellect, it's centered on somebody else's, it could be somebody who is better than us or less than us, then we are not centered on the divinity. So from here, clearly we can understand that if we want to be dear to God, and if we want God dear to us, get rid of these jealous thoughts. Then the next verse, where he is telling us that is a asuri quality. The title of this chapter is Dev Asura Sampad Vibhag Yoga. First, he mentions the divine qualities, then the asuri quality. Divine qualities we need to cultivate. Asuri qualities we got to stay away from. And this is a asuri quality. Tan aham dvishantaha. So dvesh word, that is related to the jealousy. So these cruel haters, worst among men in the world, I hurl these evildoers forever in the womb of the demons only. As a human being, we have this freedom. Do we want to go up or we want to go down? So these with these negative qualities, we are pushing ourselves into the downhill. It's not that God sends us there, but this is the law of karma for everyone. If we have these kind of qualities, negative qualities, and today we are talking about jealousy, it's a very negative quality. It doesn't take this negative quality from the Rajasic to become Tamasic. So that's why we have to pluck it at the bud level. Don't let it blossom. Do not justify, no, I cannot progress without this jealousy. No. Sure, we should learn from others. In any field, we can learn from others, but not with this jealous thoughts or a jealous mind. He's saying these kind of people are malicious and cruel. Because malicious against the dignity towards the living beings around, and even towards themselves too. Because if we keep on thinking negative, who is getting hurt first? The person who is thinking negative. It's almost like if I am holding a knife in my hand the wrong way, even if I want to hurt somebody, but I'll be hurting my hand first. The same thing happens with these jealous thoughts. So Lord Krishna is identifying over here himself with the law of action and reaction, the law of karma. Because wrong actions, they leave behind wrong tendencies. And propelled by these negative tendencies, the personality in any individual, after the death of this embodiment, this physical structure, will demand an appropriate field of existence. Remember that. Journey is not just a few decades long. We got to be very careful. So the law of action and reaction, the law of karma, orders that such cruel people again and again reach similar wombs until the sheer horror of their experiences bring home to them a sudden realization. How will the realization come? It will come because Atma, the self, is the same situated in all of us. So sooner or later, the person will follow the dharma also. But how many lives a person goes through these ups and downs, it is up to that person. And then after this, the verse number 71, chapter number 18, Moksha Nyas Yoga. So he's saying, over here he used the word Anasuya. Shraddhavan Anasuya cha Shrinuyat api yanara. So a person also who hears this means the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, full of faith and free from malice. Okay? Anasuya. He will get liberated, shall attain to the happy worlds of those righteous deeds. So we want to move upward. Those are the worlds, Punya Loka, See, he used the word punya karma naam. So people who do the punya karma will go to the higher planes. So he says, if you hear this, but the condition is that there shouldn't be any jealousy, any envy, any malice in the mind. So over here, this malice could be, sometimes the doubt comes in our mind. Is it really true? Why Lord Krishna keeps on talking like this? Or the person who's teaching us, or the other fellow beings we live with, we deal with, because God is in everybody. God is in everybody. So once we start seeing the God in everybody, only then we will start to see the change in ourselves. And this is exactly what he is talking about. Full of faith and free from malice. So faith, we often talk about it. The Shraddha has to be there. But over here, today's topic is free from malice. Because the intellect can receive the ideals preached in Bhagavad Gita only through the organs also, sense organs. We can read with the eyes or we can hear it through our ears, but these ideas must reach the intellect. And intellect, before it reaches the intellect, it has to be filtered through the mind. But if the mind has jealousy in there, so proper knowledge is not really going into the intellect. A person is reading, a person is listening, but it's not going the way it should go. It just stops there. Because if the mind contains any malice towards the very philosophy or the philosopher, the arguments and the goal indicated can never appeal to the intellect. So remember that it's not a simple thing. Sometimes we think, no, I'm not jealous of anybody. But it's very subtle. A student of a philosophy or student of yoga must learn to keep an open mind and not condemn the philosophy before understanding what to say. Often we just make up our mind. No, I don't believe in God. If God really exists, do this for me. That is like a questioning the basic, the fundamental philosophy. But a person who has listened attentively, without any malice, full of faith, Lord Krishna says, he can get liberated too. So first we have to have faith in it. Only then it will make any difference. So from these verses which got selected on this topic, I'm sure you can find some other verses also. We got to make sure that we overcome the jealousy. We got to adopt a more advanced philosophical perspective. We got to try to see ourselves as a cosmic being, not just an individual. Got to think about it. When the Upanishads say, the Bhagavad Gita says that all personalities are manifestations of the same self, there must be some truth to it. Learn to see every human being as you would see your own child or another near and dear relative, somebody who's very close to us. Everybody deserves to have a joy. The happiness of all beings is our happiness. This world is our family, our own limb, our own self. In the vast treasury of bliss that your inner self enjoys, there is abundance for all. And more is eternally coming. There's no end to it. It's infinite. There's no need to be jealous. Just like in our own body, right hand and left hand, there's no jealousy between them. Your nose will never be jealous of your eyes. Each part of the body performs its function in relation to the organic unity of the whole. If we keep this principle in our mind, that it's a whole, we are just a part in that whole. Every person is related to the organic whole of the universe, and all of us got a unique karmic role to play. It's a divine plan. Nobody can come in our way. See, if a person is not trained to observe the stars in the sky, a person might think that they will bump into each other. But a person who knows this, astronomer knows that each star is light years away from the others. They cannot bump into each other. They won't collide. The same way, when you see a person threatening your progress, you must realize that person is not in your way. No one can obstruct you. You are as free and separate as the distant stars. You are basically the spirit, and your freedom is endless. That's how a devotee feels. You are shaping your destiny according to your own thoughts and actions. No one is to be considered an impediment in your path. So instead of weakening your will with jealousy, you should try to promote self-effort to better your circumstances. Put all that energy into your own actions. It's not other individuals, but your own karma that governs your evolvement in life. Own karmas. It's your karmic process entitles you to security, even in situations where look like it's a calamity. You will stay untouched, unaffected. But on the other hand, if you don't keep that, something else is going, everything is going fine, but these jealous thoughts, you are bringing yourself down. So any situation which invokes jealousy in you, just be aware at that time. Pay attention. Bring these principles in your mind. When you are jealous, you are constantly thinking only about that person, the situation. But when you can conquer these jealous thoughts, you can think about the divinity. You can really move towards the divinity. So that's why we should try to seek out the self in the person towards whom you just happen to become jealous. Try to see the soul in that person. In fact, the saints say, reach out and serve that person. That service attitude will bring that jealousy down, especially in the family members. It's very easily you can do something where you inside you think outer action could be the same, but inside your mind you think you're serving the person. That's how you get rid of this jealousy. So strive to overcome the ego, strive to overcome this separation that you and me. Only then you will develop zeal to evolve, zeal to become a saintly personality, and a zeal to attain enlightenment. And that's where all these negative qualities they disappear. First, you see that they are reducing, and then they'll have disappeared forever. There's no need to have these negative qualities when we are moving towards all positive. So now I would request Urmil to say a few words about this topic also.
Thank you and good morning, all of you. Thank you, Hershji. You've already told us a lot and brought us to the point of divinity. But in everyday life, the people who are already tamasic or rajasic, and especially when they are young, first division or second division, oh, he got 98 marks. Shoot, I wanted to get 99 and be above that person. There comes the envy. They are not sattvic yet, and for those people, the envy level, some of them can be benign and say, "Oh, he got more marks, but that's okay. I'm going to try harder, and next time maybe I'll get 99." So that little temporary envy leads to them wanting to do better so that I can get 99 instead of 98. And he'll work very hard for that. So there is the positive side of this thing. The negative side of envy can be when you are angry and you're malicious. My God, she got a better house. My God, she's got all fortune. She's so beautiful. And why can't I be that? Well, you can't be because everyone is different. And all these malicious thoughts that are brewing inside you have offshoots. Like when you have a plant that is growing, there are many branches, and that one root of envy will lead to branches like jealousy, greed, attachment, all kind of polluted ideas in your mind. So an envious person desires what others want and always want to be better. You feel sometimes when I'm observing an envious person, I wonder what's wrong with that person. Where is all this maliciousness coming from? And the root cause is low self-esteem and lack of confidence in yourself. Now, low self-esteem, many people say, oh, you were born with low self-esteem. And so what can you do? You're always going to be like that. No. Have faith, have help, and you can conquer envious behavior. And the root cause being a lack of this thing, or having been grown up in an environment where envy was fed, or you were really in a situation where you were self-pitying yourself. All these little traits are part of uh, low self-esteem and lack of confidence. So the antidote to that, as today's topic is solutions, the antidote to envy is first thing when you pray, have an attitude of gratitude. When you have an attitude of gratitude and you say, I'm half glass full or half glass empty. Oh, I'm not as beautiful as her. No, but you can say, but I'm pretty good looking, and uh, I still carry myself so charmingly. Or you can say such positive things so that you don't have to compare yourself with somebody very beautiful. And if your achievement is not at the level of another person, a friend, or a relative, don't envy. Instead, trust yourself that God will also make you that successful one day if I work hard and work so hard that you have no time to be envious. So that is where you have to have trust in God, say, I am going to do better and I will be. But don't race towards that person. Don't say, oh, I will become like that, because you will never ever become like that. You are one individual, a separate individual. God has made you a combination of your own karmas and your own whatever. And God made you the way He made. Accept yourself. If you are not so good looking, accept yourself. Well, that's the way God made me. But then He kept me very healthy. And I live in a very lovely house. So look at the positives and be thankful for them. And when your friend or a relative gets successful, don't be envious. Say, wow, I'm so proud of you. You motivate me to do better than before. My goodness, I'm so proud of me. And tell others, I'm so proud of my sister or my friend who did so well in whatever. So, no matter how much you try to compete, it will never be enough. So, compete against yourself and let go of others, thinking of others, and change this envy into motivation. Every uh, good thought should, every time you have envy, converted into a positive thought. And not an easy thing to do, but that's all that has to be done. And as Hershey mentioned, we have to be compassionate and feel good about others. And also, if you do selfless service or serve the poor or the homeless, you will see that there are so many people who don't have what you were looking up to, and it will bring humility in you. It will cure you of the envy and feel gratitude because you have what many don't have. So selfless service is very important antidote to recovering from envy. So the jealousy is more intense, of course, as we were talking of envy, and we included jealousy. And envy, since I'm focusing more on envy, it's a very painful emotion due to social comparison, superior abilities, achievements. Instead of being inspired, you find out your own strengths. I've already mentioned that, and that is the answer to this recovering from envy. Uh, so I want to read a poem, a poem on envy that is written by someone who got a in England, who got a prize for this poem. It's a small poem, but it will take the message back into you. This rose tree is not made to bear. The violet is blue, nor lily fair, nor the sweet magnolia. And if this tree were discontent or wished to change its natural bent, it all in vain would fret. And should it fret, you should suppose, it never had seen its own red rose, nor after gentle shower had ever smelled its own rose scent, or it could never be discontent with its own pretty flower. like such a blind and senseless tree, as I've imagined this to be, all envious persons are, with care and culture, all may find some pretty flower in their own mind, some talent that is rare. So look within yourself and find your own aura, your own fragrance, and dwell in it and be proud of it. And the most beautiful thing you can do is not be envious, and you will have lots of friends, lots of loving relatives, and you will make a difference in many people's lives, because a non-envious person always has a smile on its face and will always be liked. You don't want to be unliked or hated. So you don't hate others, they won't hate you. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So be loving, cultivate love and gratitude in your mind and heart. And a clean heart is what will take you towards divinity and happiness. I just
Thank you
cooked
very
it
much,
up.
Urmil. Beautifully said. Very
I
nice.
just cooked it up.
Okay. So let's do the Shanti part.
Mm.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate Om Shanti 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 Om.
I liked your poem, Urmil.